And we'd like to safely bring you into custody so that, you'll have your day in court and you'll be able to tell your side of the story.
I got nightmares in my head, I fear thoughts build up until I can't hear. That my mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper. I got nightmares in my head, I fear the thoughts build up until I can't hear. That my mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper.
Hello and welcome to True Crime Rocket Science, the most authentic voice in true crime. Well, there's now footage of Catch-Me-If-You-Can-Kaitlin running away, trying to elude the authorities. It is a little bit grainy, but it is actually astonishing seeing what we're seeing here. It's extraordinary watching footage of Kaitlin in full fugitive mode, outrunning a cop, and she's dressed in striped prison garb. And in the footage you see, she's actually getting away. She's moving faster. The officer appears to stumble and fall. I don't know what you're seeing, but it appears to me an officer that seems to be less athletic than Kaitlin, seems to be perhaps slightly overweight or something, but certainly not as athletic as Kaitlin. Kaitlin turns a wooden fence into an easy hurdle, just jumps over the fence. It's impressive to watch. It reminds one of a scene in the movie Point Break. But anyway, 10 minutes later, Kaitlin is back in custody, and her lawyer now has an additional charge to defend during a murder trial. Before we get to the rest of this analysis, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. As I say, I'm going to be in Austin covering this case in person. So if you're interested in this case, you want some insight from someone who knows the law and who's sat in American trials before, then you might want to subscribe to this channel. If you're enjoying this episode, please like, share, leave a comment. You can also hit the thanks button, and let's get started. So what we're seeing here, and we actually saw something similar with Letitia Stork. I don't think Letitia got herself out of the actual custody, but as far as I know, she did try to do something similar. There was a medical scenario, and she also tried to escape. But in terms of Kaitlin, is this a sign of someone who does things impulsively and brazenly? I mentioned that in the previous episode. This really does look and feel and seem to be very, very brazen. And is this person someone who does or doesn't think of the consequences? Was this an effort to avoid the reckoning of a trial? Now, speaking of a trial, I was actually at the Lori Vallow trial in Boise, Idaho for a couple of weeks inside the courtroom with Lori Vallow literally right in front of me. We actually glanced at one another a couple of times. And so I'm going to be doing something similar. I'm going to Austin, Texas in November, covering the Armstrong trial, not wall to wall and not from beginning to end. That would be pretty expensive. But if you look at the amount of interest on my channel, you can see it's not about views. It's not trying to be popular. It's about interest in this case, my interest, not necessarily yours. And also, I'm curious about the fabric in Austin, the sporting community there, and also in terms of this case. Think about what we're dealing with. You know, in Rick Kofer, Kaitlin has one of the best defense lawyers money can buy. She's really got a top-notch defense. Is that going to be enough? Because, and you might say no, but someone like Iris Ayton, who I believe was also originally a prosecutor, look at what happened in the Morphew case. So don't count your legal chickens before they've hatched. So I'm really interested to see their legal strategy in a case that has seemed at times indefensible. It's the same reason why I attended the trial of Henry van Breda. I thought it was a slam dunk. I thought it was a very strong case against him. And I was interested to see, because he was from such a wealthy family, what the best defense attorneys could come up with and whether they'd actually be able to get him off the hook. Remember the O.J. Simpson case. Remember the Ramsey trial. Remember the McCann case, right? sometimes if you've got very tremendous resources that you can draw on, a legal outcome that seems to be straightforward can be not straightforward, quite complicated. And it's that aspect that I think is quite interesting in terms of this case. I'm showing you some footage of the vehicle that they caught on CCTV passing by the area where Mo Wilson was killed. And it's quite an interesting counter argument. On the one hand, you can say, isn't this the vehicle that Colin Strickland and Kaitlin Armstrong had access to? And how many vehicles in Austin look like this and have bicycle racks on them? But the counter argument is, can you actually see who's driving it? The counter argument is, can you see a license plate on it? And so can you see it is raising that argument in terms of reasonable doubt? Is there any doubt? Is there a possibility that the person driving this vehicle wasn't Kaitlin Armstrong? There's also the ballistics evidence where you have I think she fired 3 or 4 shots, and now you've got the bullets. And then do the ballistics link back to the firearm that she used? And Rick Kofer's already said, it's pseudoscience, running ballistics. And so that is, again, something that certain people would accept. A really good defense attorney can sometimes raise reasonable doubt on. He can test your confidence in things that you thought you understood pretty well. So it is actually quite an interesting case. If you think it's straightforward, it does have a certain amount of nuance. And I think Colin Strickland is also a very interesting factor in all of this. Is he going to spill the beans? Is he going to support Kaitlin? Is he going to tell the story as it was? Or is he going to kind of protect his own interests? And so that's also going to be interesting to observe. So I wonder, I'm not going to take it further than that, but I do wonder, are there about 100 of you here who'd like me to do a review of the case via a series of live streams where we can go through that whole, there's an incredible manhunt for this woman. She's about 34, 35 years old, where she managed to elude the authorities. She went to New York, and which is sort of where her sister lives, and then from there to Costa Rica, and incredibly, the authorities actually caught up to her, even though it took a month, longer than a month. It's pretty incredible that they were able to track her down, despite allegedly plastic surgery, despite a lot of other things. So would you like me to do a review of that? Remember how they tracked down her vehicle? Remember what the defense was against? She was being spoken to, and then she said, I don't want to talk to you anymore. But she nevertheless sat down there. What's the legal situation with that? If you're speaking to the police and you indicate that you no longer wish to do that, but you nevertheless continue, what is the legal position there? It certainly is a little tricky. So if you'd like me to do a live stream review, then where we can go over the details of this case, when and how they originally played out. Remember, I covered it originally. Please let me know in the comments. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you guys next time.